Hello and welcome back to the channel. We have more Ripple news, we've got more Bitcoin news, we've got price movement, and let's go ahead and get straight into it. So first up, looking at Bitcoin, we did actually gain some of this back yesterday. A pretty nice green candle. We actually saw one point in the red going down to about $76,400 and then it ended up closing at $77,500. Right now, while I'm recording this, it's a little bit under $77,000. So you do want to keep an eye on the lower Bollinger Band. It seems like we're starting to see a trend formation here, where back on May 18th, it got pretty close to it. We essentially bounced off of it the next day. We were very close to it yesterday. And so if this was to continue, we're essentially right on that line. But the good news is we're seeing that Bollinger Band actually going in an upwards trajectory. And that means that we might see some Bitcoin movement starting to go back towards the Fibonacci zone at 78,000, about $78,100. And if it can manage to go above that and hold itself, we could see a further continuation. You guys can see the median line of the Bollinger Band has also essentially flatlined right around $79,500. And so breaking above that, we're looking at, of course, $80,000, and then even above that on the upper Bollinger Band, because right now it does seem like this is pretty significant. I would be looking at currently about $82,700. But if we look at how this plays out moving forward, this is starting to pinch down more, and that upper band realistically could work its way down towards around, I would say probably around 81,000, maybe $80,000. And we are still trying to fight with that purple line, that VWAP, but that's looking at it on the daily. I like to use the VWAP a little bit more on a monthly time scale. But daily, we're still holding okay. Right now, we're actually below it, so not ideal. Yesterday, I did try to break above. And that's what we got going on for Bitcoin, essentially. So it is down on the day about 0.75%. And now let's go ahead and move on to some of the crypto related news. So first up, from Bull Theory, this could be the largest insider trading scandal in crypto history. Jane Street made $134 million by shorting Luna and UST right before the Terra collapse. Newly unsealed court filings reveal that Jane Street did not just use their insider information to close their UST position, but they also used that information to short Luna and cash out $134 million as the entire Terra ecosystem collapsed. The insider access came through a private Telegram channel called Bryce's Street that was run by Bryce Pratt, a former Terraform intern who moved to Jane Street. Their largest single trade was an $85 million UST sale on Curve Finance, executed just 9 minutes after Terraform quietly withdrew $150 million from the same pool with no public announcement. After being identified by on-chain analysts, internal communications showed traders discussing how to decommission their wallets. 5 days after UST hit zero, Jane Street offered Terraform's head of research a job, and he started 2 weeks later. So, very, very crazy story. And also from Bull Theory, you guys should go check them out on Twitter if you haven't already. At Bull Theory IO, a lot of good information. And they go on to say hedge funds are shorting the US stock market at the highest level since 2021. Short exposure to US equity index and ETF products just hit 13% of total gross exposure. It is nearly double where it was before COVID and the highest reading in 5 years. The S&P 500 is near all-time highs. Bond yields are at 2007 levels, and Japan's bond market is cracking. Korean retail investors are borrowing record amounts to chase stocks higher. Retail is buying and hedge funds are shorting. One of them is about to be very wrong. Which one do you think? From Ripple X, XRPL 3.1.3 is now in its 2-week activation period. Update your nodes to avoid amendment blocking and service interruptions. So this is basically a public service announcement for anyone that is using nodes with XRPL. Make sure you update your nodes. And from CoinDesk, CME Group's XRP Futures Suite hits $62.87 billion in notional volume in its first year, with average daily volume of $238 million and over 1.3 million contracts traded since launch. From Kalshi Crypto, Breaking Iran reportedly holds $7.7 billion worth of Bitcoin. Again, this is reportedly, but yeah, that is a substantial amount of Bitcoin. And also, speaking of Iran, it says here, Iran takes 400,000 Bitcoin miners offline after power grid damage from strikes in April. And from Kalshi Crypto, Michael Saylor supposedly is saying that Strategy will likely sell Bitcoin this year. If he does sell, question is how much? And does he end up buying more than he ends up selling? We're sitting here almost going into the month of June, so about half the month done. I mean, half the year done, I should say. And we still have plenty of room for things to be played with. We'll have to see how it plays out. Now, there's a crypto exchange. If you guys haven't heard of this, BTCC, look at this. They've been around for 13 years. You get access to over 300 crypto futures, up to 250x leverage. You've got no VPN or KYC required to get started. And they also have sign-up bonuses. If you use my referral link, you can check that out in the description below. It's a 10% deposit bonus, and that's if it's $500 USDT or more. And you can get extra bonuses of up to $10,055 per user. So if you guys want to check this out, you guys can go look at the referral link I have down in the description below. And let's go ahead and move on. Whale Insider, just in, CME Group says its XRP futures products generated nearly $63 billion in notional trading volume during their first year. And looking at the stock market for opening, it did not go well. Another dump, $300 billion wiped out right at open. The Bitcoin Fear and Greed Index is sitting at 29, so we're still in the fear territory. It's come up just a little bit here, but barely. We are still not in good territory. And from Bull Theory, breaking oil surges above $100 after Iran's supreme leader ordered that enriched uranium must stay in Iran. Removing Iran's enriched uranium stockpile was the core U.S. demand for ending the war. Now, I also want to stress that there's a lot of conversation going on about whether or not the supreme leader actually ordered that or not. And Ripple Prime integrates with Markets EDX, giving institutional clients access to EDX's spot and perpetual futures liquidity within Ripple Prime's prime brokerage framework, with RLUSD planned as a future settlement and collateral asset. From Rippleziety, millions of X users can now instantly trade XRP through the new Trust Wallet and XRP Cash Tag integration. And now let's go ahead and take a look at what's going on with XRP's price. So very similar to what we saw with Bitcoin. We can actually pull that up right here. Bitcoin itself, we had 5 days of red candles, 1 green, and then red. And what do we got here? 5 days red, green, red. Essentially, things are trying to follow what's going on with Bitcoin right now. We're not really seeing that altcoin season. We've been waiting for a long time for the alt season to really kick in, and just hasn't really had that proper movement yet. And with XRP, we actually zoom in a tad bit here. We can see that we're pretty close to the bottom wick on the day, so that's not a good situation to be in. Sitting at a little over $1.35, and we're also seeing that bounce off of the Bollinger Band for yesterday. Unlike with Bitcoin, we're not really seeing the daily pattern following that bottom line of the Bollinger Band, right? When we looked at this with Bitcoin, as I mentioned, we've got 1, 2, 3 instances that seem to be following that trajectory. But with XRP, we only have 1 instance that's really bounced off of it. The previous day, a little bit close. I wouldn't really consider this that much though. So we're actually seeing the bottom Bollinger Band flatline. We might see that as a level of support. You can keep that in mind at 1.3471 cents. So yes, that is something that is possible. You also want to keep in mind that right now XRP is moving in the direction that we might be having a retest of $1 at some point. I wouldn't say very soon unless there's a flash crash. And as it is right now, we can actually see the Bollinger Band had pinched itself pretty quickly here back on May 8th and then started to expand out, but nothing super significant for that Bollinger Band difference. The other thing is that you see my triangle formation right here. That bottom line of support was broken through. This is something that I drew in a previous video. I mentioned if it drops down, how many instances, further continuation, and sure enough, what are we seeing? We're seeing that crash happening pretty hard right there. And if it wants to climb back up, we're looking at $1.40. That's both psychological as well as the Fibonacci retracement. And on top of that too, even if we just wanted to try and get back into that triangle formation, it would have to get above $1.41, essentially $1.42. But we've already had these instances down below it. So to be realistic, I'd say that this is essentially invalidated, this bottom line. We can try and move it here, see if we can find ourselves a new level of bottom support. But I don't think we're going to have 3 instances. We've essentially got 2 for the bottom, right? We've got the one from yesterday, and there's another instance back here on April 5th. And if I zoom this out a tad bit more, we can see if it can match up with anything else. Nope. Yeah, so essentially, right now, we're just looking at 2 instances here. Nothing very strong. If it manages to go up and come back down again, we might have this as a level of support. But we'll go ahead and layer that right there for now and monitor it. It seems like it's a little bit structured than what we had previously that already broke through. And we'll keep an eye on everything. That's what I got for you guys, so I appreciate you tuning in. And if you're new, don't forget to hit subscribe. Thank you to my Patreon supporters and my YouTube members. If you'd like to share your support, you can find the information down below. I am Crypto Atlas over on Patreon. Thank you guys. God bless. We'll see you in the next video. Peace.